All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Chuck versus the podcast, brought to you by the Oh Hi, Oh Guys production, powered by RealNerdCorp.com, live on Twitch.tv/Comic and GameCorp. If you didn't already know, I'm your host for this evening. I am the Crown Vic of podcasting, and I'm about to drive this Crown Vic out of my house because I'm sick of being stuck in this fucking room. My name is Alex Swisher. Joining me, as always, is my trusty co-host. Some know him as Die Harder. I know him as Chad Porto.
I will forever wait for Dr. Tuk.
I had a lot of options. I was thinking about using like a simple one like Bruton Gaster. But there's so many that I've done that I really want to use again just because they're so funny, like Long Branch Penny Whistle.
My favorite will still always be, I'm Sean Spencer, and this is my associate, Burton Guster. Now you use my real name?
What does he say? He said, now you use my real name in front of a serial killer? I'm also partial to Chesterfield McMillan and wife.
What was the one, Holla Back At You? Was that the one he used when selling magazines?
I think so, yeah. Like Holla Back At You and Dynasty are like the two easiest ones to remember.
What was the mummy one? He cometh in peace?
Oh, Imhotep, or He Cometh in Peace.
And Gus is just doing the fucking head bob. Watch Psych, everyone. It's fantastic.
Oh, Psych is such a good show.
And remember, no body, no crime, Sean.
No body, no crime.
What is that on a poster?
Oh, dude, I'm going through and looking at some of the ones that I've used in the past. Flapjack Palmdale. So good.
So we are doing season 5, the final season. Chuck versus the finale. Chuck versus the quickening. There can be only one. It is 13 episodes.
Yes.
And it is a very up and down season.
So let me tell you my experience with this season. I watched the first 12 episodes of the season about 2 weeks ago, and then watched the final episode of the season today.
Thoughts?
So I remember almost nothing. I remember the first episode, the mid episode, and the final episode.
How is it that I can recall... I already answered my question. How is it I can recall this series when I haven't watched this show in a full year since before we sat down to watch it? Like, as I'm rewatching, I'm like, yeah, this is what happens. This is what happens. I start fast forwarding through some of the episodes I don't like because I know what happens. But then I remembered, oh yeah, this is my 15th viewing, and no, I'm not being facetious. And you know what? By the end of this quarantine, I may have a 16th under my belt.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I could totally be watching new shows, but there's something in me that's just like, hey, man, you got time. You can rewatch Scrubs. Yeah.
I'm doing that with Modern Family right now.
It's just like, but I'm the same way with Scrubs. I've probably seen Scrubs 10 times all the way through from beginning to end. And like, I forget stuff, but then I get back to it in the show. I'm like, oh, here's where this happened. This is this episode. You know,
I don't really forget. What I end up doing is noticing new things.
Mm-hmm.
Like just out of just a point of relevance. So I'm going through Modern Family right now. I think I'm on season 7. There's an episode in season 6 where Phil gives his father-in-law a new grill. And it's a little gag. It's right off the back end of a commercial break. So like as they come back from commercial, this is what's happening. Phil's next to a grill, calling the factory, the producers of the grill, the production guys, and he's like, yes, I would like to return this grill, and he goes, yes, I have the receipt, and then all of a sudden you see the receipt burn up over the grill because it's so hot, and he's like, I may not have the receipt anymore. And I never noticed that there was a receipt that actually burned up in that shop before. So it's like, oh yeah, that's pretty, because it happens so fast. Like it's like half a second. I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. So, you know, it's always fun to go back through some of this stuff. And you know what? There are some good Chuck episodes in season 5. One of those is right.
Yeah. Oh no, there are definitely some good episodes. Some, but it definitely has. It's definitely a very up and down season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, they could have ended the show, like at season 4.
Well, that's what they intended to do, so I'm not exactly too surprised.
Oh yeah, I'm not. I'm assuming that was the case. Same thing with One Tree Hill. It was supposed to end at season 4, and then it just, you know, it did its thing.
Well, they gave us the 2 best seasons in 5 and 6, so I'm very thankful for that. Well, 4 is up there as well. 4 was fantastic.
I'm pretty sure I said that season 4 was my favorite season.
It wouldn't be that surprising because season 4 had that great basketball tournament run. Then you had Peyton and Lucas finally getting together. You know, you got Allison Scagliotti on that show. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
You gotta love me some Skags. But season 3, was it season 3 or was it was season 2? Was still the best fucking scene of all goddamn time. It's like Scar throwing Mufasa to the wolves. Luke screaming never as he attacks Vader, and Lucas going up to his mom going, "Mom,
Oh yeah.
my heart."
My heart.
Okay, calm down, Mati.
What is it with shows in like season 4 is just being the best? Because season 4 of One Tree Hill was really good. Season 4 of Chuck was really good.
Mm-hmm.
The only good season of the OC was season 4.
I thought you were about to say Scrubs, and I was going to be like, no, 4 is probably their worst.
No, season 4 of Scrubs is awful.
Which one had Jay Fox? Was that 3?
I believe season 3 had what was the doctor's name?
Dr. Kevin Casey.
Dr. Kevin Casey.
Dr. Kevin Casey. Dr. Kevin Casey.
In relation to John?
Well, maybe they're both very neurotic.
Man, you're telling me.
Both very clean freaks. Well, so for Chuck season 5, let me just hit this one. I would say anything from Chuck versus the Hack Off was definitely one of my favorites. I'm not really a big fan of Chuck versus the Curse.
Yeah, that episode was garbage.
I liked what they tried to do by bringing Ellie and Awesome into it, but that one was fine. But Chuck versus the Santa Suit, Chuck versus the Baby, especially Chuck versus the Baby, because that gave some great Sarah backstory. Chuck versus the Kept Man, because that was with John Casey being all like Verbansky's little cabana boy.
Yeah.
I love that. And Chuck versus Bo were, I think, all peak. But then the final 3 were kind of what. And let me be clear. I think the final 3 are actually really good. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it took away that happily ever after we were all looking for. Like, we got it at the end of 4, especially with that fake out. Like, the funeral services, 12 o'clock. Bartowski wedding, 1 p.m. Like, you got us. But the season 5 finale, I think, is what, in my opinion, holds 5 back a lot. Because when you know how it ends, it leaves so much to be desired.
Yeah, it does. And to me, it kind of feels like they were hoping that they would have more time to wrap up that story. But the way things were, it just didn't. It really didn't suit the show at all. It didn't help it in any way, shape, or form. It just was kind of like, well, that's a bummer. Like, that's an unnecessary cliffhanger of like, do things work out for the better or not?
Mm-hmm.
You assume that they do based on how the show ends, the final scene, but like, there's just so many things that they didn't wrap enough stuff up, in my opinion.
I feel like I've told you this before, but have I ever told you my idea for Chuck versus the movie?
We talk about your idea for Chuck versus the movie every single week that we do this fucking podcast.
Well, as I told Zach on Wednesday, every day is Wednesday for me now. Every day is Wednesday. There is
Yeah, that
no new
makes
day.
sense.
There is no new day. Tomorrow's Wednesday. The day after that's
No,
Wednesday. Yesterday's Wednesday.
there's a new day. It's Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, and
Oh,
Big E.
I'm gonna drown you in a vat.
Oh
So
man, I still got it.
you shouldn't want it. So
Part of my charm.
what charm? You're like a festering anus of charm. So Chuck versus the Zoom sees Carmichael Industries dealing with the best big bad of all time, unnamed thief Mark Hamill.
Oh yeah.
I felt
Oh
so. All
boy.
right, I love Mark Hamill. I really do. But I was watching this, like I remember seeing Mark Hamill's in the episode, and I remember getting to the end of the episode going, "What the fuck did they cut him?"
Yeah.
I didn't realize that the villain at the start of the episode was Mark Hamill.
Dude, it took me really did take me like rewatching that episode to be like, oh hey.
Like
It was
his hair's combed back. He's pale. He's talking in some weird Russian-esque accent. It's like, all right,
yeah.
whatever. I think the other big issue with this season is that it split up 3 big bads across 12 episodes. You had Decker trying to ruin Chuck, right?
Yeah, but Decker was just kind of a patsy.
Right. And then because it was all building up to, and we'll get to Chuck versus the Santa Suit because that was supposed to be the big bad for the season. And then you had some motherfucking schmuck in what is it, number 11, named Quinn.
Yeah.
Like he's just some random bad guy. He's a bad guy. And you're like, wait, what? Like, well, what's his deal? Oh, he's super bad. Former
No,
CIA
that's
guy.
Kip Sabian.
I'm gonna smack you so hard. Just right across the face. So it's one of those things. It's one of those things where I think season 5 really ultimately fails because it was trying to piece together 3 different ideas and trying to replace the guy they wanted as the big bad with Quinn McKay or McKay Quinn, whatever the hell his name is, Nicholas Quinn. I think Quinn McKay is what's her face from Ring of Honor.
Quinn McKay is the
Little cute mousy
Ring of-
chick, yeah, from Ring of
yeah,
Honor.
the ring. Yeah.
I would have preferred Quinn McKay. Then again, I prefer most attractive women, so I mean, So I think that's the biggest issue in my opinion was that they had a lot of good ideas, but for some reason they weren't. Because like you could have just run with Decker, I think. Like
Yeah.
I like the actor who plays Decker. You could have
He was
done
good.
Yeah, great. And him having like this like vendetta against Chuck and the Intersect, like that's a great premise. Not as great as the idea they wanted to go with, but we'll get there. But it was a lot better than fucking replacing Taggart with Decker. There it is. With
Decker.
fucking Quinn. Just some overweight.
I mean,
beard.
even if they had just stuck with the big bad from Chuck versus the Santa Suit, that would have been better because at least the continuity would have worked.
They
and
wanted
it's not,
to.
it's just yeah.
I'll go into a little bit of the backstory from what I understand, but the whole thing was like that was what they wanted to do for the rest of the season, but limitations.
Mm.
So basically, Chuck and everyone is doing the thing in the first episode. They're reestablishing the situation. They got not new, but they've re-outfitted the underground lair. Chuck's got all kinds of the monies. And they did a great thing with, I think it was this episode, right? Where Chuck jumps out the window.
I
I'm pretty sure it's this episode.
don't remember. Probably.
So he pretty sure it's this episode. Hang on, let me just double check something. Yeah, it's this episode. So they're dealing with this guy named Roger Bale, and Bale is like this big hoity-toity kind of guy, and it's played by Craig Kilborn, and he was the first host of the Daily Show, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So they come up with this idea of sending some like $2 or $3 or $4 million, whatever, to Bale's like kind of Ponzi scheme to try to get the money back from him. Because he's got like all the money and they're trying to find out, a way in, and then that way they can get all the like the funds and pensions and all that back that he stole from people. And Decker ends up freezing, the CIA and Decker ends up freezing all of Bale's accounts. Once everything is finished in the episode, and it retroactively freezes all of the new team's funds. Who they're going under the name of Carmichael Industries. So that was a great way of kind of like limiting what they can do budget-wise for not just the team, but for the show, because, hey, now we don't have any money, just like in real life.
Yeah.
And they had to be very creative with how they did things. And I think that added a bit of creativity to this season that I think otherwise would have been lost with just the influx of money. But there was a really cool scene where Chuck's like, Sarah, because like Sarah gets kidnapped and Chuck sneaks in and he's like, just go, Sarah, just go, leave me behind. And then they get in the van, they see a press play button, so they press it, and Chuck's on the, recorded message, don't leave me behind.
Don't leave me behind. Yes, that was awesome. That was a very great scene.
Chuck then yanks like these really important firewall codes because the CIA is trying to hack the files, so he pulls the firewall cords, allowing the CIA to hack all of Bale's stuff. Chuck runs through the hall, and there's this great scene of him jumping through a window and falling on top of the van. Like, it's really fucking badass. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, that was a great fucking sequence. The rest of the episode, Next, yeah.
That's just how I kind of feel about this season, where it's like, all right, yeah, just up and down, up and down, up and down.
So we go into the second episode where we see Jeff Fahey. Remember him? He's been in so many. He's literally the kind of actor I expect you to know in everything, because he's got that very Texas drawl, and he's in an episode of Psych.
I'm drawing a blank.
Dutch, The Clutch.
No, my brain don't work no good.
Remember the episode where Sean and Gus were hired by the stunt guy's wife to figure out who's trying to kill the stunt guy? And it turns out the stunt guy's actually dying, and he's trying to kill himself in what would look like an accident so that his insurance pays out to his wife and son so they don't have to go for want. And then at the end, Sean convinces him, like, I'm sure they'd rather have you for another year than have millions of dollars. And then like they're sitting in the back waiting to see if he kills himself on the stunt, and then they hear that he lands, and the crowds go wild, and Sean and Gus just breathe a silent. It was a real heavy episode, man.
Hold on, I'm thinking.
There's a chase scene with the son on a moped through or a dirt bike through like a picnic area, and I think Gus is on like a little tiny battery powered motorcycle bike.
Yes. Okay. Hold on. What? He was in. I can see it now. He was in The Marshal. He played He played Winston McBride in The Marshal.
I've never seen The Marshal,
He was a title.
So I'll take.
He's a title role. Well, you can. He was on Lost too, wasn't he?
Again, I'll take your word for it.
Oh Jesus. Like, the roles that I would know him for, you're like, yeah, he was in Psych. He was in one episode.
He was the Evel Knievel of Psych. Of course, I remember that episode. Winston McBride is a family man and fugitive cat chasing. God damn it, I can't speak. Winston McBride is a family man and a fugitive chasing deputy U.S. Marshal who has never let a criminal get away. By tracking and guarding criminals, he wanders all over the country, meeting different people along the way. The wisecracking McBride relies largely on the quirky sense of humor and the intellect to fulfill his duties. So he's a sarcastic cop. Gee, never heard that one before.
U.S. Marshal.
That's basically that's a cop. U.S. Marshal has no stately boundaries, though. Fun fact.
Yeah, so it's it was a show that we watched in my household. You got to remember, we like my grandfather loves like old school like Wild West like Western shows, and Western-esque themed shows. So like shows like that.
That's fair. So anyway, Faye, he's trying to get to his brother, played by Justin Hartley, the first CW Green Arrow. He says that his brother's been kidnapped, so the team goes in to try to rescue him. But it turns out that Fahey lied, and his brother's actually hired a bunch of people to protect him from Fahey. Wa-na-na! Jack Bandit! I don't know why I went Doug, but there you go. We also find out that Gertrude Verbansky, played by Carrie-Ann Moss, is trying to recruit Sarah to Carmichael Industries. And I love the little scene with her and Verbansky. She's like... Sarah's like turning her away, like, my husband's running the team I'm on. Like, are you fucking kidding me? How dumb are you? Besides, we both know you just want John Casey. And Verbansky just like kind of like eyebrows her, like, mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, and by the by, when we win, and we will win, I'm not gonna hold up, because like Verbansky has all these trophies of people she's taken down in a room, one including John Casey. She's like, I'm not gonna put any trophies up when I take you down. She walks away and just says, it's tacky. And Verbansky's so angry. You don't mess with Ivan Stravsky.
Oh, man. That'll never get old.
Nope. So Carmichael Industries in episode 3 is where we start to see the distancing of Morgan. There was a great little subtle moment in 2. Again, like, this was like a really well done... Like, there's a lot of well done moments in this show, and one of them was in episode 2 when Chuck's trying to ask Morgan what movie marathon he wants to do. I think it was like Star Wars
it was trilogy night. Do you want to Star Wars or Indiana Jones?
Right, and Morgan just says something like, "Doesn't matter, you pick. It's more your thing anyway." And like when he says that, like it really doesn't land, but it kind of does. Like, you don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that. Episode 4, I think, is a miss, but it could have been so good. Chuck and Sarah go on a Bymore retreat to look for a assassin.
The Bymore retreat was the best part of it.
The Bymore retreat was fine. But there was a lot else going on in that episode besides the retreat. The other thing was that they had David Koechner. Am I saying that right?
Keckner.
Thank you. He's hilarious. I love him. I love him in everything he does. He's one of the best parts about the Goldbergs.
He's great in the Goldbergs. And for those of you who don't know who we're talking about, David Koechner plays Champ Kind in Anchorman.
Yeah, he's the sportscaster in Anchorman.
Yes. Which I feel like if you don't know Anchorman, then there's no reason for you to be listening to this show anymore.
Similar jump. He's the manager in Waiting.
Yes. Same caliber of movie.
Mm-hmm. Just a different age group and like a different kind of sensibility. Like Anchorman is just like, we're gonna ad-lib and riff, and like people who think we're funny who are like in their 40s gonna love this. Or you're either going to be 40 and fans of these guys for like the last 30 years, or you're going to be like 12 and you think dumb, stupid humor is funny. Waiting is like for that 17, 16 to 35 crowd who work in this kind of industry and fucking hate it.
Yeah.
But same level of comedic relevancy, just in different comedic genres. So in the third one, we get Chuck and crew trying to chase down a wanted fugitive while Casey reunites once again with Verbansky. I do like that name. It's so much fun to say. Verbansky. Say it.
I am not going to do what you tell me to do. I am going to say the word Verbansky because I want to.
Thank you.
Verbansky.
Urbanski. So much fun. You can say it sexually, Urbanski. Or you can say it angrily, Urbanski. Or you
Please do. Please never say Verbansky sexually in my ear ever again.
or you can say it like you're scolding a coworker. Urbanski, my office.
Verbansky is a name that just works as like you're a fuck up
Yep.
and your boss hates you. God damn it, Verbansky.
It's one or the other. It's either the fuck up employee or the dickbag boss.
You want to know why it works in the same context?
Because of the ER.
Yes, but also think about it. How many times have we heard the ski name in like, oh, you're a fuck up and your boss hates you, Bartowski?
Yeah.
God damn it, we're just
Bartowski,
our
my office.
Our favorite line from our favorite character being, "Damn it, Bartowski."
Oh no, our favorite line is. Episode 3 also saw Morgan indulge himself more in the spy lifestyle, and he officially leaves at the end of the episode, I believe. Right?
Yes.
In Chuck vs. Frosted Chips. Was that the episode they fought, or was that in?
I believe it was all in one. Didn't that all get fixed in one episode?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, maybe I don't know. I don't remember anything. I'm stupid.
Well, like I said, I didn't say, but like you said, I watched most of the first half last week.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
So I know in Chuck versus the Business Trip, though, they're pretending to be Morgan because he's the one who was invited to the conference, and Sarah ends up bonding with. She's played by Catherine Dent, and it ends up being the Viper, and it's like, oh no, the one person we didn't really
Didn't
look
see that
at,
coming at all.
right? The one person who we didn't look at all is you know the killer. Oh my god! Turns out she's not a soccer mama too. Shocking. So like that was kind of dumb. I really liked Chuck versus the Hack Off though, because throughout
Chuck versus the Hack Off was really good.
yes, throughout most of this season, Chuck is dealing with the fact that he's no longer the Intersect, and Morgan, who is the Intersect, and he doesn't flash, he zooms, which is just so Morgan. The Intersect though is damaged.
Yes.
And the reason why Morgan's kind of losing himself is because every time he flashes, it's eroding pieces of himself. And it got to a point where I forgot what he did. He
Well, I think by this point,
yeah.
By this point, the Intersect's out of his head.
Oh, did they already take it out of his head?
Yeah. Before the business trip, it got out of his head. The reason he didn't go on the business trip and they posed as Morgan is because he had lost the Intersect.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so whatever the episode was right before Chuck versus Business Trip, I think is when they got it out of his head.
Okay. Well, it was eroding at his head, and I think something in Chuck versus the Frosted Tips caused Morgan to. I don't think he physically assaulted Alex, but he broke up with her.
He broke up with her over text.
Yeah.
And he also called her Allie.
Yeah. And that did not sit well with John Casey.
Oh, John Casey was gonna kill that man.
Oh, John Casey was having a day. He was having a mood. But Morgan then spends the rest of the season trying to explain to Alex what's going on. They eventually reconcile. Although it's kind of like we'll see how it goes, but it's they were back going, by the end of the season, doing their tantric sex stuff.
Oh God, don't remind me.
In Chuck vs. the Hack Off, though, Chuck goes undercover with an elite hacker unit, and he's just such a big dork in this episode, and I fucking love it. But the best part of this episode was Jeff goes to jail with John.
Lester goes to jail.
Lester goes to jail with John. And I
Oh
forget.
yeah, we didn't explain what happened to Jeff in this season.
Oh no, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay.
Why did John went to prison because of the CIA? Right,
Be- because of Decker.
right. But Lester goes.
Because he tried to turn Jeff
So
back.
I guess we have to jump into Jeff before we do anything else because Jeff is a very
Yes.
big part of Chuck versus the Hackoff. So Jeff, we find out, has been sleeping in his van, but it gets cold at night, so he turns on the heat.
Well, so actually what it is that he can't turn his van off. He's he so Well, how is it? Devin, in one of these episodes, Devin takes baby Clara to the Buy More
Episode
just to
3.
get
That's the blonde.
just to get out of the house.
Yeah.
Okay. And he sees that Jeff is working on his van, but he still has the engine running, and Jeff is passed out
Right.
in that
And
room.
Awesome drags him out because he thinks Jeff is dead,
Is
but
dead.
he's not. He's
Yeah,
Jeff.
and so he asks Jeff what's going on, and Jeff's like, "Well, I can't turn my van off because if I turn it off, I'll never be able to turn it back on." So he's like, and Awesome's like, "Don't you sleep in your van?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Jeff, you've slowly been poisoning yourself." So he tells him that he can't sleep in his van anymore, and when Jeff stops sleeping in his van, he turns back into a normal person.
Yes, he goes full normie.
Like not just like, oh, he's like not as much of a weirdo. Like he goes full on straight laced. Hello Lester, how are you doing today?
Combs his hair, everything. Full Monty.
Starts reading books. So, and it turns out, and they say this in the show, this is literally a line. They go, turns out Jeff wasn't an idiot. He just had
Brain damage.
yeah, he just had brain damage from sleeping in his car. So yeah, Lester hates it, obviously, wants to turn him back to normal, so tries to poison him and everybody else in the break room of the Buy More by funneling a hose of Jeff's van's exhaust pipe into the break room and locking the door, almost killing Big Mike and several other Buy More employees. But I believe Jeff hits the fire alarm and it gets everybody out of the Buy More.
Yeah, Jeff saves the day, and originally Jeff goes, Lester, if you apologize, this will be the end of it. And Lester basically emphatically goes, I will not apologize. So then they throw Lester in prison. And he does this little scree. And now he's bunk mates with fucking John Casey in prison.
It's ridiculous.
I love it. So
I love it too, don't get me wrong.
Oh, it's great. So they're, I think in Chuck vs. the Hackoff, aren't they trying to get Casey out of prison?
I'm trying to remember exactly what they're trying to do in Chuck vs. the Hackoff. Man, I want to say that there was more to it than that they were hacking stuff for a reason, but
Well, I think it was to get like, I can't fucking remember what they were hacking for. But both John and Lester get let out at the same time for various different reasons. Lester gets let out because he apologizes, and Casey escapes.
yes,
because Verbansky
so
gets him out.
Chuck needed to hack into this thing as a part of a deal with Decker, I believe, to get Decker some sort of virus or something. Was it?
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm on board.
Yes.
It
He was
was like
getting the Omen virus.
Yeah, and the Omen virus it was going to come back into play in episode 7, and Chuck gets framed for releasing the Omen virus. And the Omen virus is nothing more because they end up going on to say that the Omen virus isn't infecting anything. It's not deleting anything. It's copying everything.
Yes.
And it's funneling to a central point. What does that sound like to you? Sounds like the intersect.
Well, yeah, that's obviously where it goes. Like, but it's not.
Yeah.
But Yeah, because I remember this episode very clearly now. Because he gets it. Well, because one, Chuck has a hack off with Freddie Wong, who literally plays a character named Freddie.
Yeah, and I
Um,
love Freddie Wong.
yeah,
Fucking
Freddie Wong's great.
video game high school for life.
Yes. Um,
Add that to the
so he
list of
has a big
possible
hack off.
shows.
They go and take the Omen virus to Decker, and Decker does the whole bad guy speech thing where he's like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, "I'm not gonna let him go free. I have video footage of you being the one who has the Omen virus, and now I'm gonna take your whole team down and blah 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 blah." And then Verbansky comes out and just straight up is like, "Hey Decker," and she's like, "You're gonna give it back, and you're gonna leave us alone." And he's like, "Why would I do that?" She's like, "Oh, this is why," and then turns and fucking shoots him. And I'm like, "Yeah, woo, all right." And then she has to go hide.
Yeah, then she does all of that either right before or right after she gets Casey out of prison. Because like they
Oh
go.
no, that's not what happened. She doesn't shoot him. Never mind. She hands him. She walks up to him and like grabs him by the collar and like says like blah blah blah, and he's like, "I can take down your whole company." And then she walks away, and he's like, she forgets something, but then he realizes that she planted a bomb on him,
Mm-hmm, and then.
and he explodes.
So I think Chuck vs. the Hack Off is also the episode where they do in fact get Casey out of prison.
Yes, they do.
But the best part,
Morgan helps Verbansky bust him out.
I thought it was everyone. I thought each person had like a little role.
Yes, I like the whole team does do it, but I believe it's Jeff who says that we have to prove like there's like some big lesson where Jeff's like, "Yeah, we have to show them how much that they mean to us, blah blah blah, and like we have to go above and beyond." And that's where Morgan realizes he's trying to earn back Casey's trust after breaking up with Alex.
Mm-hmm.
So he helps Verbansky by infiltrating the prison as a security guard.
And then Verbansky takes over, makes out with Casey in a broom closet.
Well, yeah, but that's just
But
those
the
two.
best part of the whole season happens in the Biomore, as Big Mike and Jeff try to try to encourage Lester to apologize by bringing in Lester's a replacement, a fellow Hindu from Canada, played by Danny Pudi.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like they're on like a Skype video call, and Danny Pudi's just like, "Oh hey, what's up, Lester? I'm the new guy. You know, hey, nice to meet you." And Lester's like, "Another Indian guy." Well, actually, technically, I'm half Indian, half Jewish. I'm a Hindu, if you will. I kind of coined that myself. And Lester's like,
and he's like, "Oh, that doesn't mean anything." He's like, "Where are you from?" He goes, "Montreal, like all good Hindus."
and then he starts going, "Oh, Canada," and he starts singing in French. And he's like, "It's nice meeting you, Lester." And he walks off, and Lester's just like, "Ah!" But then, like when the call ends, they give Danny Pudi some money, and they're like, "Hey, thanks for coming in." And he's like, "Hey, no problem, anytime." Because it turns out that Danny Pudi's just like an actor they hired.
No, so he had to give him like an expensive like laptop or something, and he's like the Indian I forget it. It was something like it was like an Indian actor company or whatever that I work for said that you were gonna give me one of the good ones.
That's what it was. I fucking love Danny Pudi. Community's so good.
Community's such a good show.
It's so good. Except season 4.
Ooh.
It's always season 4.
Okay. So my season 4 theory doesn't always apply.
Well, it does, as long as you acknowledge that it's either the best or the worst season.
Yeah.
In
Like
every
the OC,
show.
it was the best season.
Yes, it was.
God, I love Taylor Townsend.
Oh my God, I wanted Taylor Townsend.
Did season 4 also have the Blind Melon No Rain scene?
No, that was season 2.
Damn. Every time that song comes on, every time I hear it, I immediately think of you.
I hope when they reschedule this Impact show and I show up to your house, it's raining, so I can put my hand on the glass of my car.
You just see me at the front door of my house with my cell phone out talking to you.
I'm waving you, you're waving me, and then we just fucking settle for the phone call. God, that'd be beautiful. So in episode 6, Chuck is framed for the release of the virus.
Yep.
It kind of comes down to like a standoff. Rebecca Romaine is replacing Decker because Decker is now in pieces.
Oh, God.
And Rebecca Romaine's a fine actress, but her character is so wasted. And the name is dumb.
Does nothing.
She does. She is absolutely replaceable. You could have had random generic actress number 4 do this role. And they tried to kind of get Chuck to turn over I think it was like to turn over the virus or to show up and turn himself in. I forget exactly what it was they wanted from Chuck. But they end up capturing Ellie and Awesome. And the best part was like Ellie and Awesome for the longest time don't know they're being kidnapped. They think it's all like a sex game.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I fucking love it. Eventually, the good guys show up, save the day, and I think Rebecca Romaine gets busted.
Yeah, because Rebecca Romaine has a fucking car battery that she calls the toy.
Yep, and she I think she electrocutes. Who did she electrocute? What was it, Chuck?
She doesn't electrocute anybody because as she's about to electrocute Chuck, they shut off the power.
Sarah and
Ellie
John.
shuts the power.
Oh no, Ellie does.
the
It's
power
right.
Ellie shuts the power off. The first time, no, Awesome shuts the power off. But there's a backup generator, and then Ellie shuts the backup generator off with help of.
We need to go because that's like the best bit of the episode. Like Awesome's like I think he's shirtless at this point because obviously.
Yeah.
And he shuts off the power and like he's about to strike down I think it was like just a random villain. And as he's about to, the power comes back on. The guy turns around and Awesome goes, "Hey,
hey." Well, it's also like they make a noise, and the guy comes and like sees him as he's about to shut the power off, and he goes, "What are you doing?" And he turns around, and he's like, and the guy goes, "Where's your shirt?" And he goes, "Sorry, bro," and then punches him straight in his face as hard as he can.
love me some Awesome.
Awesome's great.
Oh, it's so good. So we then get to what was supposed to be the catalyst for the whole season, but it ends up only being one episode. Turns out the first 7 episodes, Decker, Rebecca Romaine, all of this nonsense is building up to the reveal of the mastermind, and it's actually a great reveal. It turns out that Daniel Shaw is back.
Whoa.
You can fuck right on off, sir. Because
I don't care for Daniel Shaw.
I do. I love him as a villain. I love this arc. This is perfect. Just I wish I had more. The best part of this was that they were trying to.
Can I be straight up with you about him?
Yes.
So I think he was good.
Yes.
I don't care for him. I think he was good. But man, they really like changed his character into such a dick in this episode. Like up until this point, he had been calculating, unemotional, and very stoic. And then all of a sudden, he like turns into this weird pervert that's making out with her and like doing weird shit. It's like, "Oh, you still love me," blah blah blah. I'm like, his character has literally not been like this for all the time that he was in the show.
Well,
and then they decided to just do this.
You got to remember, he spent 2 years in isolation because of them. He was dating Sarah before he found out that Sarah was the one who killed his wife. I'm sure that and also remember, he doesn't have any type of regulator. So he's in isolation. He's going through some emotional shit because he's in isolation. Like, think about it. We can still interact with people and we're going stir crazy, and it's been 2 weeks. And also remember that the intersect is eroding his brain. So I didn't really see too much of an issue believing that, Shaw is kind of go a little bit more off the rails. The best part about this episode, I know. The best part about this episode, though, is that Beckman decides to help Chuck figure out what's going on. And in order to do so, they invade the CIA Christmas party.
Oh yeah.
and Chuck is dressed as Santa Claus. And some she's a
Ugh.
very, I think she was on Mad TV. I forget her name, but she was like this general, and she was like trying to fuck Chuck in the oh god, it's just Vanderlei Silva there.
Yeah. Because Beckman is
Beckman
like
gets
that's
oh yeah, all right, go on, go on.
yeah, she's like she's notorious for being a hard ass, except one day of the year.
And the best part though is like as this slushed up whore of a general is looking to fuck Santa, they walk into, I think it was her office, and she sees Beckman and Chuck making out.
Yeah, because um they were trying to get this code, so they stole her key card by having Chuck flirt with her dressed as Santa. Because she apparently she had a history of sleeping with all the office Santas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they get her key card, they sneak into the office, and then an alarm goes off, and they're like, "We have a blah, 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 whatever over in this office." Problem is that she's in the break room, or whatever. We can see her in the concourse. So they go up to the office, and then Beckman, in a spur of the moment decision to help keep their cover, starts making out with the Santa clad Chuck.
It's fantastic.
And he says something, and she goes, "We will never speak of this again." It's really great.
Shaw ends up hanging Sarah in the Buy More hideout and like trying to freeze her to death. All right, Mr. Freeze. Showdown with Chuck and Shaw.
Oh God.
Sands intersect. Where was the final fight at? Was it? It wasn't in the Buy More, was it?
Yeah, it was in the Bybor.
Round 2. Same as the first, though.
Second verse, same as the first.
Chuck wins by TKO.
Dude, well, I mean, it was smart because he's like, "I've got the Intersect 3.0, Chuck. There's no way you can beat me now." And then Chuck's like, "Okay." And then he puts the glasses on, and then the only thing that he sees are like pictures of what was it? Oh man, it was pictures of something. Wasn't it just like old cartoon Santa Claus?
Yeah, I think so because it was or like Christmas images or something like that.
Yeah, and he's like, "What is this?" He's like, he's like, I didn't give you the Intersect." He's like, you don't have the Intersect anymore, so we're just gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way.
Oh, that's right.
And then
Because the glasses, he had his intersect suppressed, didn't he? Shaw.
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. So good fight. I like that they're evolving Chuck throughout the season. That is one of the strengths of this one. So kudos where kudos are due. When Shaw's being hauled away, though, he tells Sarah about says something about Budapest.
Oh yeah, and then does he know about the baby?
Real chilling kind of response for a really innocuous kind of situation. Now, I understand like why Sarah wouldn't tell him being Chuck in context of the show. I get that. But it's not like a big secret that Chuck needs to worry about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like they a little overplayed it, but it also made sense in the context of the show. It's revealed that Sarah ended up stopping the murder of like some socialite child who stood to inherit like billions of dollars or some shit like that. And Sarah fucking jump jacked this kid and took him out of Budapest. and went home and went, "Hey mom, can you raise the baby?" And I think it ended up being a little girl. And like now in the show she's like 5 or 6 or something like that. And it turns out that Bryce Larkin's partner, Tim DeKay.
Oh yeah.
White collar. It turns out that Tim DeKay, who is Sarah's original handler, so apparently it wasn't what's his face? It wasn't Tony Todd after all. Is looking for the baby to get the money. Turns out the baby's now like a 7-year-old little girl, and Team Chuck stops the bad guy. It's a really good episode. but it's not a lot needed to explain. Like, that's the entire plot of the episode. Good guys win.
Yeah.
It's good though. Like, it's a real strong episode because Chuck and Sarah talk, and they even start talking about kids. Sarah's becoming a human finally.
Yeah, that's the hope.
In Chuck versus the Kept Man, they go to they say South Beach, but I also think they were in Miami. This would be a great opportunity to do like a crossover with like Burn Notice.
Yeah.
Chuck just sits down with fucking what's his name, Michael. Goddamn, what's his last name? I want to say Michael Scott. That ain't it though.
It's definitely not
No.
Michael Scott.
No, but it is Michael something.
Oh,
Let's see.
Michael Weston?
God damn it. As I was scrolling down to the fucking name. Good job. I hate you.
The thing is I was literally typing in Burn Notice to look up the character's name, and it hit me before Google even loaded.
Ah, look at that. Google is sentient. Kill it. Kill it with fire. So,
Google is now projecting information directly to our brains.
what is this, a Marvel character now?
Hell yeah.
No, seriously, that's a new Marvel character. His name's fucking Screen Time.
Excuse me, what?
Yup.
God. What happened to the non-ridiculous Marvel characters? You know, like Gambit or Bullseye. I'm going to kill you with a playing card.
That's actually pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was having a conversation with my buddy. He's like, if there's which Marvel character, which one hero and one villain would you always choose if they're like a playable character in a video game or something? And my answer is Marvel hero and villain is always Gambit and Bullseye.
Wolverine and Magneto.
You know what? I understand that completely. I'm not really a Magneto guy. I like Wolverine. I'm not really a Magneto guy. I think Magneto's great, but like
I just want to be able to rip the iron out of someone's blood.
that X-Men 2, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that scene was crazy. When she injected all that iron into that security guard's blood.
Right? I'm not even talking about like the injected iron. Like, I want to take the actual iron in someone's human body and just rip it out. Like that would be badass. You're just like, what? Why do I feel so bad? I just detoxified your entire blood system. You have no more iron.
In like the same vein, there's like a reason why like there's a villain from Naruto. I've never watched like a lot of Naruto, but like this was like the what I did watch of it. This was the one villain that I really liked. His name was Zabuza, and he had a sword. It's a giant fucking sword that had a special ability that when it slashed into people, it would absorb the blood from their body and take the iron to repair itself.
What is his name?
Zabuza.
Do 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 do.
Zabuza.
Do 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 do.
So, just another thing. Zabuza also had a little sidekick, who's a kid that fought alongside him. You want to know what his name was?
Oh yes, please.
Haku.
Tongue and death grip. Chuck versus the Kept Man. We see Chuck and company go down to Miami. They're hanging out, doing their thing with Verbansky, because apparently when you kill a CIA agent, you don't need to actually leave the country. Just go to the different side of it. They won't find you there. It also involves some type of armament deal that ends up going sideways because Verbansky gets played. Verbansky is like, this isn't my doing, but things go sideways. They save the day. Verbansky and Casey make out some more. Also, this is the episode that is absolutely fucking hilarious because Jeff and Lester are exploring all of the nooks and crannies of the Bymore.
Oh, yeah.
Because they think something is up with it. So they eventually find their way down to the Bymore basement. And they end up poking a hole through a wall. So you gotta wonder just how secure was the CIA's facility if this happened. And
It wasn't.
Lester and Jeff end up seeing I think it's Casey, Sarah, and Chuck around the table talking, and the next thing that you know, they've been tranked, and in Chuck versus Bo, they wake up in the desert. And this is a reoccurring gimmick throughout the entire episode because they keep finding their way down. And they keep getting tranked every time they do. And every time they do, they end up waking up in the same clothes, same location, same car, right outside of Vegas, I think. Or Branson. It's like something ridiculous. Maybe it's like Laughlin or something. I don't know. but it's like somewhere dumb. And they keep waking up thinking that they had a party, and they keep waking up and they keep waking up and they keep waking up until finally they find out the truth that these guys are in fact spies. And it's one of the funniest fucking things in the goddamn series, and it's the perfect payoff for Jeff and Lester, because it was Jeff holding them back from finding out the information. Because if Jeff was still dumb, none of this would be happening.
That's true. Yeah.
Also, this is an episode. This is why I got confused with when Morgan lost the intercept, because in this episode, it's a flashback episode. A lot of places, with Morgan recounting the time he was working for Verbansky. And going to what the Alps? Well, it was Denver. What's the thing in Denver? Not Cannes. Where everyone goes skiing. Remember?
I have no fucking clue.
Oh, it's Vail. It says right here in Wikipedia. Vail in Eagle County, Colorado. And they end up running into Bo Derek, and it turns out Bo Derek is a spy. And Morgan tried to nail Bo Derek, but Bo ended up stealing something off of him. I forget what it was. And they end up having to track down Bo Derek. And at this point, I think, if I remember correctly, Alex and Morgan are starting to reconcile some more. But because Morgan doesn't remember big chunks of having the intersect because of what it was doing to his brain, there are things he still doesn't remember, and as he's remembering them, he has to try to explain them. It's all very fun. This is a very fun episode. But it also introduces Quinn, who captures Chuck at the end of the episode, I think, and tries to smuggle Chuck to Japan, trying to get the intersect, because that's what we're doing now. I think at the end of this episode also, Sarah and Casey show up thinking that they're about to rescue Chuck, and they get swarmed by a bunch of guys, and they have to fight their way out. And it's actually a really cool scene, and it ends the episode. Like, real strong stuff. Like, it is a real good episode.
Yeah.
Chuck versus the Bullet Train sees Casey and Sarah having to deal with the Bullet Train. Eventually, they catch up with them, and they reconcile, and Casey and Sarah and damn, that's right, I forgot. At the end of Chuck versus Bo, in order to get out of there, Sarah puts on the intersect glasses that Shaw was supposed to get, and uploads the intersect to her head. So in Chuck versus the Bullet Train, because it's such a deteriorated intersect, it's already affecting her pretty severely, to the point where, like, he's like, Sarah, you can't leave the cabin. And it eventually gets to a point where Quinn, I can't remember exactly what he did. I think he forced her to flash multiple times in a row, basically breaking her brain.
Yeah, and she loses most of her memories.
We don't find that out, though, until the next episode.
Yeah.
So, also, Quinn took Alex hostage, and Jeff and Lester saved the day. So, strong stuff from Jeff and Lester in the back half of this season.
Jeff and Lester were great.
Yeah, they were strong in season 5.
Yeah, not kidding. Like, they were probably one of the better parts of this season.
They're one of my favorite parts of the series. Don't get me wrong. In Chuck versus Sarah, we open up with Quinn pretending to be Sarah's handler and manipulating her to take down Team Bartowski. The thing that I noticed about this, it eventually builds up to a face-off, and I think the Staples Arena basement. I'm not kidding about that, because they're in the basement of a basketball arena, and I know that for a fact. But what I also noticed is, like, remember the scene where Sarah's like fighting her way through the hallway, and she's like taking all these guys out, and then like she does like an up and over the like the stairwell, and like she like runs into the room where Chuck's
Yeah.
chasing after her. That entire area is literally in episode 1 when Bryce is breaking out with the intersect.
Oh yeah.
I was like, yeah, reuse assets. Hell yeah. Also, this was a Jay Shashkar episode. Mother
Nice.
God. So the official synopsis reads, Sarah, who's under the control of Quinn, is allowed to return, but with a secret. She's double agenting, that's right. Ellie and Osmond get the opportunity of a lifetime by being offered jobs in Chicago. They're turning them down. Chuck decides the intersect must be destroyed and leads the team to the government building. Sarah goes rogue and strands the team inside before blowing the building. Realizing Chuck switched classes, Sarah threatens Ellie's life. Dun, dun, dun. So basically, the finale. And there's a lot of good in this, but there's also a lot of dumb in this.
I mean, did you want me to like say something there, or were you just like
I
taking
I was more just seeing if you had something to add.
No. Nah. I mean, it's. I have mixed feelings.
I do too. So
Yeah.
basically the premise of the episode is Chuck in the episode prior tried to convince Ellie that we're married, we love each other, we're friends, we're allies.
Not
we're on
Ellie.
the same side. Not, well, maybe Ellie. You don't know. You don't know what kind of
Sarah.
relationship they have.
Shut up.
Don't shame them.
I will shame that.
See, every time I say Sarah, I think of Sarah Lancaster, who plays Ellie.
That's fair.
It's a twisted web. It's a twisted web. So he almost convinces Sarah that we're together. And in the series finale, she believes him, but she tells him, "I don't feel that way for you anymore."
Yeah.
And Chuck's like, "Ah." Eventually, Ellie tells Chuck that they can save Sarah's memories, but they need to use the intersect that they've stolen from the CIA to do it, which, obviously it's going to turn into some big will they, won't they. It boils down to, like, they kill Quinn. Fuck Quinn. But it boils down to Sarah, Casey, and Chuck now on the top of the same... Was it the same? No, they're in the L.A. amphitheater now. Beckman is there with all of these dignitaries, and it's revealed that Quinn has set a bomb, much like in episode 1 where they set the bomb. And the thing that pisses me off about this so much is that Chuck doesn't need to do what he does. Like, in the context of the episode, he doesn't need to do it. But they build up this whole thing like Chuck needs the intersect glasses to disarm the bomb. So it's save the day or bring back Sarah. And Chuck goes like something to the effect of like, if I gave you these glasses, it would turn you back to who you were, but you wouldn't be able to look at me anymore because the Sarah you are wouldn't let me be that selfish. So he puts on the glasses, sprints down there, and the best part is Jeff and Lester are playing with the Los Angeles Symphony.
Yeah, because they were playing. The bomb was set. It was a pressure bomb, but it was also set to go off if the music stopped.
Well, it was. Yeah, it's supposed to, yeah, you're right. I thought it was supposed to be at a certain note, but no, you're right, because Jeff and Lester then pop on with Take On Me.
Yeah, it was Take On Me.
Yes, it was. And it was fantastic. It's the best musical portion of the entire series. So Chuck sprints down there, finds the bomb. Sarah and Casey show up, and he's like, "How do I need to disarm it?" So he flashes, and he's like, "Oh, this is just like the fucking first episode." So he opens up the computer, downloads the what was her name? Eileen Damova.
I don't remember.
The porn star virus from episode 1. He downloads it again to destroy the bomb, and yay, the day is saved.
Oh yeah.
Sarah kills Quinn.
That's kind of a cop-out thing now that I think about it.
Yep. Didn't need to do that. Like, he didn't need the intersect to do that.
Yeah, if he could have just downloaded that fucking virus again.
It's
Like,
it's not like I said, it's not a strong reason to use the glasses.
yeah,
Like a better way of doing this would have been him bringing the glasses with him, getting to there, and as he's about to put them on, he realizes what the computer is, and then he's like, wait, and then he opens it up and downloads the virus, and then he blows the bomb, and its operating system out of the water. He doesn't have to worry about the bomb anymore, and then he can give the glasses to Sarah at the end of the episode. But who knows what better writers would have done
yeah.
with this
So
episode.
we'll wrap it up, and then we'll kind of talk about our feelings.
So Quinn's dead. Yeah.
Quinn's dead.
Morgan conducted the orchestra, by the way. That was great.
Yeah, he did. So, it kind of goes into this little wrap up thing with all the characters and
hang
like
on.
where they're gonna go from here.
Quick correction. It was Sarah who remembered the virus.
Yes, that's right. So they start going into this wrap up thing. Ellie and Awesome are, just moving forward with their lives with baby Clara. Jeff and Lester get an offer from a German
Music guy.
yeah, he's like a music guy who runs a record label, and he says they'll love you over in Germany. You'll be adored by women and men. And Jeff goes, women and men? And he turns to Lester, and Lester there's literally a tear rolling down Lester's cheek. He goes, "Are you ready for this?" And then Jeff just goes, "Let's rock." And they walk off into the sunset. You find out that the Buy More has been purchased by Subway.
That's right.
And Big Mike is going to continue to work at the Buy More and only eat Subway for the rest of his life.
I mean, his body is a temple.
Yes. Casey is getting all his stuff together to go after Verbansky to be with her. Morgan and Alex decide that they're going to move in together, and Casey offers them his apartment in the complex. Creepy. Yeah, it's very strange.
Morgan's going to fuck Casey's daughter in Casey's room. Yeah. Now you... I get you, Lucas. I get you.
Ugh.
What was that line from Peyton? It wasn't that you had problems, it was how mad you got.
Yeah. I mean, he raises a very valid point now that you look back at it.
Yeah, it's fucking creepy.
Yeah. That was his room. The other room was his mom's room. Stay in your room.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy. So, yeah, and then it goes to a beach scene where Chuck and
well, Morgan comes
Sarah.
Morgan comes with a theory. And Morgan goes, in all great movies, a single kiss is all you need to show someone that you love them or to bring them back. Or he's making like a Snow White analogy. So he's like, just go find Sarah and kiss her.
Yeah, so they sit on the beach and they sit there, and Chuck goes. There's this like series of flashbacks where it's supposed to indicate that Chuck is filling in Sarah on all of her memories that she no longer has. Like there's the scene where they do like a flashback to the scene where they do the dry run of their wedding, and all these like goofy like things that they experienced together. And at the end of it, she goes, "Wow." And she kind of looks off and he goes, Morgan has this crazy theory that just with one kiss, it'll bring back all your memories. And she's like, "Oh, really?" And he's like, "Yeah, I know. It's kind of crazy though." So, were you going to say something?
Yeah. Like I'm kind of just now, watching all this condensed, it's kind of hitting me in a wave where she says something in season 2, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Where she said somewhere between walking in to get my phone fixed and going dancing, I fell in love with him.
Yeah.
Meaning that Sarah doesn't need to spend that much time with Chuck for her feelings to return.
No.
So I as I'm sitting here hearing, because like the way she says Morgan has this crazy idea. The way she kind of says like, what's more like. She says something kind of like, like what's Morgan's idea? But the way she says it's kind of like really open to the concept.
Yeah.
Like she's not like she's hesitant because she's clearly afraid because she just lost 5 years of her life, but she's optimistic, and there is a bit of beauty in that, in the way they kind of went full circle with basically showing that no matter who Sarah is or where she is mentally, she's always going to find her way back to Chuck because Chuck's her constant. There is some beauty to that, but we're
Yeah,
looking for definitive answers there.
There's a little bit of comfort in it, I'm not going to lie. Like, yes, it's like a very nice, touching moment. But, so let me wrap it up and then I'll finish that thought. She goes, Chuck, and he goes, yeah, and she's like, just kiss me. And then the show ends with those two making out on the beach. Yes, it's a very touching, like heartwarming moment of what you said. Yeah, no matter where she's at, she's gonna find her way back to Chuck. I don't want that. I'm sorry. It's like it's the same thing with like if Lucas and Peyton hadn't had a happy ending. It almost got ripped away from them 7,000 times through the course of 6 seasons. You just want these people to be, you just want everything to be normal and happy. That's how a show should wrap up, you know? So yeah, I wanted her to get her memories back. That is, and they live happily ever after. That's how the show should have ended. Like, I know it sounds like I'm asking for a lot, but it's really not.
Her name's Peyton, fake blonde Peyton. I think that's where the episode fails.
What?
I'm laughing at the goddamn song. Her name's Lindsay. Lindsay.
Lindsay. With the very same ring. God.
So, if they had done all this episode and gotten to the point where they do this and then like she pulls back and she smiles and says like Chuck or something like that and she laughs and in the end kind of like, we don't need to know if she got her memories back or not in that specific moment, because what we know is they're back. Whether they need to redo everything or not is irrelevant, but they're still there. I think that would have been fine, or if you gave her memory back, that would have been fine. But do something that kind of signifies that she's still, that's still her Chuck.
That they are still Chuck and Sarah.
Right. I think not doing that, especially when you knew that there wasn't going to be a 6th season, is a bit of a ball kick.
Oh, for sure.
And that's why I don't like watching season 5, because I don't like having to get to the end of it. Like season 5 has a lot of good in it. It really does. It's the worst season, but it's still a good season.
Oh yeah, no, it was good. It just wasn't as good.
Right, because and I say this very sincerely, Chuck seasons 1 through 4, probably the greatest non-Star Trek sci-fi show you'll ever watch.
Okay, I agree.
It's up there with any season from DS9, any fucking episode from Enterprise or Next Generation or Voyager or whatever. And I think Star Trek is the fucking baseline for quality, sci-fi entertainment, because of how long it's been around and how many generations and how many eras it's been in. And I think Chuck is as good as just about any one of those series. In fact, to me, personally, it's my favorite science fiction show of all time. So there's a lot of substance with this series. And for it to end on such a question mark is such a goddamn nutshot. I remember watching this the first time on Netflix in like 2012, because like it had all been uploaded, and I just remember watching, going, why the fuck did I wait so long? Do you want to know why I waited so long? I thought the promotional material was garbage.
That's fair.
Because like every shot was like Chuck standing there going, and Sarah going, yeah, and I'm just like, what is this? What is this show? Like, you have a name, Chuck. I see a dude in a green shirt, and I can see a chick karate kicking. Like, what is this show about? This tells me nothing.
What they should have done, all the promotional material should have been John Casey growling.
That would not have made me watch this any faster.
And saluting Ronald Reagan.
What is this? Fucking Michael J. Fox and what is that? Family Matter or Family Ties? Fucking what was his name? Alex P. Keaton. I don't want to see Alex P. Keaton all grown up. Fuck that.
sitting sitting on the hood of a Crown Vic.
Alex P. Keaton. Alex P. Keaton's got like his shirt pulled down a little bit. He's got like a little varsity leather jacket on. He's growling. Teen Wolf coming to Chuck. Alex P. Keaton is Teen Wolf on Chuck. He's just growling. So,
Ugh.
I think the best parts of this show are definitely the three core groups, core members of the group, in Casey, John Casey, Sarah, and Chuck. I think Jeffster, like that combo throughout the entire show, added an element of uniqueness. You know, having goofy side characters isn't anything new, but they're just so out there all the time. They're always at 100, and it's always very amusing because they're doing random ass shit for like playing strip poker with only guys. Something awesome wish she would have known. Or, you know, what was it? Jeff's mom worked as a stripper, so Jeff had a bunch of contacts with strippers just all the time.
Yep.
You know, the fucking what was the episode, like Twinkies, where Morgan runs up and he goes, Jeff's gonna eat 12. No, he's gonna eat like, what was it, like 18 Twinkies. But what he doesn't realize is he just agreed to eat 36 because there's 2 per wrapper. And then Morgan runs away going, Jeff's gonna die.
Oh yeah.
And Chuck looks at John and he's like, I can't miss this. And Chuck runs off and Casey just follows him because he's as morbid as everyone else.
Oh yeah. Like I think it was something even crazy.
It was like 36 packs, and then he's gonna eat 72 or something like that.
Yeah, like.
Because
and then there was the
that was the season 1 finale.
Yeah, and do you remember the Subway sandwich eat off between
Casey and Lester?
Casey and Jeff?
Yeah.
Oh man, that was. Never has any show made me want a certain type of food more than this show makes me want Subway.
Right, and I applaud them because one, Subway helped really facilitate some of the budget, but two, like when you look at like a Michael Bay movie, he's nefarious for doing this. You'll see a bunch of brand placement, but it'll be like subtle. So it's like kind of like trying to be like super fucking like shady, like making Bumblebee a Chevy Challenger.
Yeah.
Well, why'd you do that? Because Chevy said we'll pay for some of the budget. Well, that's kind of dickish. With Chuck, they're overt, like because they don't mention Subway in passing. Every time they bring up Subway, there's always like, and their new chicken teriyaki.
Yeah.
Like they're being very upfront with what they're doing.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, it's not like I think the one that comes off the top of my head is Fight Club, and that there's a cup of Starbucks in every single scene.
Mm-hmm.
But it's never mentioned. They don't ever say Starbucks anywhere in the movie. They don't ever mention it. It's just like that was like I don't remember whose call it was. It was either Chuck Palahniuk or David Fincher's. But yeah, it was Starbucks in every scene. I can't remember whose decision it was, but yeah, we can end this already.
Well,
train of thought, we can end it.
It kind of makes you realize that, you know, there's a right way of doing it and there's a wrong way, and trying to be sneaky about it, especially in a movie like Fight Club, that's kind of heralded as this really counterculture kind of movie. It's all about anarchy and embracing your true self, but it's all fucking paid off by goddamn Starbucks. Shut the fuck up. Your movie's a scam.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, well, everything is like that's the whole point of the film. Is it like, well, yes and no, because I mean the giant twist ending. I mean that movie's 20 years old, 21 years old. Came out in 99.
Yep.
The whole point of that film, the whole big twist of that film, where find out that Tyler and the narrator are the same person. it's like a psychological thriller at the end, but at the beginning, it's like this counterculture, Rage Against the Machine style film. But I mean, the narrator's apartment is entirely filled with IKEA furniture, and there's a shot in every shot in the movie. There's Starbucks, and like I think the biggest thing that people don't take away is that like Chuck Palahniuk's a super smart guy, and I think he senses the irony in it. And if you, I know you don't like Joe Rogan, but I'm not suggesting this to you. If you like Chuck Palahniuk, I suggest go watch his talk with Rogan on his podcast, because he goes super in depth about a lot of things that are super like crazy, and like these stories that people have told him, because he's written all these super crazy out there stories like Guts. Um, and it's wild, man. He's a very interesting guy.
I've heard of
So
that. Well, what's Guts about?
Guts is about a kid who it's a boy who finds out that he likes the feeling of having his prostate massaged. Um, and the way he finds out is that he had brushed by his pool, the suction jet on his pool, like for the filter.
Oh,
Um, yeah, and he like starts massaging himself with the suction jet until one day that it prolapses his anus.
that's disgusting.
Yep, yep, and that is based off of a real story that he was told, that he knew about. Not that it did. Like that's the thing, is like he's had this said to him multiple times. Like people are like, I can't believe you're so brave to tell all these stories about yourself. And he's always like, these stories aren't about me. These are stories about people that I knew in real life, or stories that I had heard from other people. But he's like, I'm never, like there's one where he wrote a story about a kid who, again, same thing, found pleasure of sticking like things up his ass, and one of them was like a carrot. And he told Chuck this story, and he remembered the first time that he read this story to a live audience. The guy was in the crowd, and he's like, I haven't talked to that guy since. So,
Well,
but but in fairness, he'd never mentioned the guy's name, and the guy's name was never mentioned in the story. So like, I get it. Yeah, Chuck took this story that this guy told him about, and used it for material, but at the same time, nobody's gonna know it was him. So
see, the only film that I've liked that has been made off of one of his books, and now I don't know how many of his movies or how many of his books have been turned into movies. I know two: Fight Club and Choke.
Choke, yeah.
The
I think those are the only two.
Okay. Choke is a really surprisingly good movie, mostly because it's carried by Sam Rockwell, who is. Yeah, I don't want to say he's the Tom Hanks of his generation, because Tom Hanks does a lot more multi-spectrum movies,
Mm-hmm.
while Sam Rockwell definitely goes hardcore into more specific artsy genres. But he's every bit as talented as any actor I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean he's in one of your and I's favorite movies.
Yeah, Galaxy Quest.
The way back.
Yes, he's
Galaxy
in that
Quest.
too. He's in that too. Those are probably my two favorite Sam Rockwell movies, though. No joke. But
Yeah.
also, Choke has Gillian Jacobs and Kelly MacDonald, and I'm just, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very much a fan of them. They're great. It's a messed up movie, but I like the way it ends, because it kind of has like I don't know how the book ends, but the movie kind of ends in a way that gives you the sensation like, even if you're a little broken, there's still someone out there who can see past it. And I
Yeah.
like that kind of reassurance. Like, you don't need to, worry about so much. Someday you can find someone to love you. It's
Oh yeah,
a nice
absolutely.
little kind of message. And I also love that. I'm not gonna go into how, but the way it's described that the girl falls for Sam Rockwell's character is one of the most. how should I describe this?
Mhm.
It's one of the most Taylor Townsend things one can do.
She's neurotic, is what you're trying to say.
I'm saying she's impetuous.
We've never ever gone out of our way to be PC on this show. I don't know why you're starting now.
I'm not trying to not be PC. I'm more saying that it's like I'm being vague so I don't ruin the movie.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Because how she finds out about Victor, Sam Rockwell's character, is very integral to the third act. That's why I'm being vague. It's a very crazy, but also very, it's very romantic. It's like that that episode from How I Met Your Mother. Grand gestures are either viewed as a Doppler or as a Dahmer. And it's all about how the person who's receiving the grand gesture perceives it. If you're,
Right.
If you have an affinity for the person, you're a Doppler. If you're not, you're a Dahmer. I forget, like, wasn't Doppler from Say Anything? Is that where the name comes from?
I don't remember.
You wouldn't. Why would you know John Hughes? And Dahmer is obviously for Jeffrey Dahmer. Let's see. Dobler, that's what it is. Lloyd Dobler, played by John Cusack. Ooh, so I've been rewatching. We'll get back to Chuck wrap up here in a second. Because I want to hear your 5 favorite episodes or 3 favorite episodes or whatever you can muster. There is a movie that John Cusack is in that I absolutely adore, and I was watching a bunch of my favorites, kind of like spy comedy mystery thrillers, but with a comedic overtone. So I watched 3 movies in one night, but the first one doesn't count. I watched Summer Catch with Freddie Prinze Jr. It's Freddie Prinze Jr. It's Matt Lillard. They're baseball players on a minor league independent team. I love it. It's just so dumb and so good. But then after that, I watched Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer, and then I watched Lucky Number 11 with Bruce Willis and Josh Hartnett. There's another one that I forgot to watch, but the one that I would arguably say that is as good as any of those films. Have you seen either of those?
What was the first one that you said?
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with Robert Downey.
Haven't seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Have seen Lucky Number 11.
Okay. Did you like Lucky Number 11?
Yeah.
Well, there's another one that falls in that line. It's called Gross Point Blank. It stars John Cusack and Minnie Driver. This is from '95, and Dan Aykroyd. And basically, John Cusack and Minnie Driver's characters used to be friends in high school. After they got out of high school, John Cusack ended up falling into the underground world of espionage and became a hitman. And Dan Aykroyd is like his rival and his rival and like his colleague sometimes, depending on how the situation fits. And John's assistant is his real life sister. John Cusack's assistant is his real life sister, Joan. And she's hilarious. Like, they have really good chemistry together. But throughout the movie, John Cusack's character is being very open with everything he does. His character's name is Martin Q. Blank. And at one point, he's picking up Minnie Driver because it's like a high school 10-year reunion kind of thing. So they're going to their high school reunion. And Minnie Driver's dad asks him, "So, Martin, what industry are you in these days?" And Martin goes, "Assassinations." And the dad goes, "I hear that's a growth industry." And it's just so fucking deadpan. I fucking love that interaction, and it's like the kind of humor in this movie. I absolutely adore it. It's one of those, if you like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang or Lucky Number 11, you'll like Gross Point Blank. Unless you have some kind of disdain for Alan Arkin or Dan Aykroyd or Joan Cusack or Jimmy Piven or John Cusack. I don't know anyone who doesn't like Minnie Driver. Like, Minnie Driver is gorgeous. I love Minnie. I forgot that Hank Azaria is in this. It's pretty good. So anyway, what would you say are your 3 or 5 peak Chuck episodes?
Oh, you're really putting one on me there. Um,
That's why I gave you the option for 3, dingus.
yeah, I know. I think number one for sure. This is gonna be a cop out answer, but it definitely should have been the wrap up to the series, the season finale of season 4.
Okay.
Um, should like it just wrapped everything up so nicely. It was great. I loved it. What else? Let me see. I'm looking through I'm just going back and remembering all of the episodes here. What the fuck just happened?
Are you on Wikipedia?
Yeah, it was, but my phone just like died.
Your phone died or Wikipedia died? Because Wikipedia's been having issues.
No, my phone died. I don't know what happened. It just shut off. Because I usually do this on my phone because it's a little faster. But I will just do it on my laptop.
Well, while you do yours, because fucking slow McGee over here, I'm gonna pick one from each season because
Hmm.
I feel like that's just the way to go. Although I'm scanning through some real fast just to double check things. So for me, season 1, my favorite episode is Chuck versus the Alma Mater. I love the revelation about who Bryce Larkin really was to Chuck, and I love the establishing of the point that Bryce, even when he was hurting Chuck, was doing it to help him. That scene where Bryce is talking to the teacher. You know, you can't do this. You can't send him out there. Chuck's not built to be a spy. He'll die out there. Like that emotion, it's so
Hmm.
goddamn powerful. And like Chuck ends up leaving with a bit of a restored type of, hope and optimism that he didn't have prior to that, and he was no longer carrying that pain. I thought that was a really good way to kind of sidestep or pivot is the word I was thinking of. Pivot into a different kind of mindset. So Chuck versus the Alma
Hmm.
Mater is definitely my season 1 pick. My season 2 pick is down to either Chuck versus the Colonel or Chuck versus the Ring. I love the way Sarah shakes off Bryce at the end of Chuck versus the Ring, as if she's saying that she's picking Chuck over Bryce. Like that's a very charming moment. But for me, I'm always going to be about the big emotional moment when Casey gets mad at the team and reveals like your biggest mistake was that you didn't ask me to join. Oh, it hits me every time. I
Yeah.
love that Casey, beyond God, Country, and Core, believes in Sarah and Chuck as his partners, and he was willing to do what it took to make sure that a man he's never met before, really. Like he met him in passing, got to see his daughter's wedding. Like I like that kind of soul that John Casey has. Like he's willing to risk treason to keep his promise, and I think that's a real strong sentiment. So in season 3, there's a few because season 3 is my favorite season. There's Chuck versus the Tic Tac. There's Chuck versus the Beard. There's Chuck versus the American Hero. Chuck versus the other guy. I love Chuck versus the Honeymooners because he had Fred Lillard in that, and I'm just he's such a cut up. I love that man. Right? Was that Fred Lillard?
I'm trying to remember here. That was the one with
With the spy couple.
Let me see
They were
here.
trying to see like if they had what it took. Oh no, Chuck versus the honeymoon is no Chuck versus the honeymooners was when they were on the train in in like Sweden or whatever in Europe.
Yeah, yeah.
Chuck versus the role models was the one with um, Diane and hang on, Scott Holford, Udo, Fred Willard.
Craig and
There it
Laura
is.
Turner.
Yeah, it's Craig Turner. There it is. So like basically all of those episodes, I love all of them so much. Chuck versus the Living Dead was all right. No, Chuck versus the Living Dead was really good. Chuck versus the Tooth was all right. And of course, Chuck versus the Subway, so fucking goddamn sad. Chuck versus the Ring Part 2, optimistic, but still kind of like that. Ugh. You know, because, like, you know, Chuck's dad's gone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think for me, I'm going to go with Chuck versus the other guy, though. Mostly because they spent all this time building up as to why Sarah is not okay with Chuck being a spy. They spent an entire, like, what episode is this, 13? They spent 12 episodes heading into 13 building up as to why Sarah doesn't want Chuck to be a spy, because she's afraid that Chuck's not going to be her Chuck anymore. And in that episode, like at the midway point, she even says, like, when Casey told me that you couldn't kill your target, I still realized that you're still my Chuck. That you're still Chuck. You're still my Chuck. And like the way she says it is just so goddamn charming, right? But the reason why it ultimately makes a cut is because, one, John Casey kills an entire agency of spies by himself.
Yeah.
I love that. And it ends with, you know, Chuck, you know, telling Sarah, like, I had to, he was going to kill you. I'm so sorry. And Sarah's just like, you're still my Chuck. And they finally, yeah, in Paris, of all places. I thought that was a great way to kind of end that will they, won't they? So
Yeah.
I thought that was fan-fucking-tastic. I got a text, and I want to make sure my phone stops flashing. I hate my phone because, like, if I swipe off the text, like, you know how the text will pop up on the screen, you'll swipe it left or right to get rid of it?
Yeah.
My phone will still flash until I read it.
Ugh.
And you have to understand something. I don't like being nagged. So every time I see it flash at me, I take that personally. Because I'm just sitting there going, stop nagging me. I will read you when I read you. So I don't like my phone. In season 4, Chuck vs. Suitcase is really good. Chuck vs. Coup d'etat is great. Couch Lock, pretty fucking good. So is Isle of Terror.
Couch Lock.
Couch Lock is so good. John, I'm dating your daughter.
The Isle of Terror is also a great episode.
It really is. And it's my favorite of the Halloween episodes, even though season 1 had a really good Halloween episode.
Oh, season 1 had the episode where they were
The Sandworm.
The Sandworm, yeah.
You had Chuck versus the First Fight, which was great because that was like where they were trying to argue while, you know, the mom was doing all that stuff. Chuck versus the Balcony was really good.
Chuck versus the Balcony was the proposal episode, right?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Chuck versus Seduction Impossible was really strong.
Very good.
I like Chuck versus Cat Squad only because of the fact that it had Mercia Monroe. Mercia Monroe.
It's probably Mercia.
It's probably Mercy Monroe because she's fucking from
Mercia.
California. Mercia.
That's we made that exact same joke on the season 4 episode.
Oh, did we?
Yeah. As soon as you said it, you said Mercia. I was like, it like triggered a fucking flash, like a flash in my brain. I have the intersect of our podcast. As soon as you said it, I was like,
Chuck versus the Wedding Planner was really good because that was the episode where John's ex finds out he's still alive and realizes that he's actually a hero. That was really good. But for me, I left it off the list of names that I like because as soon as I saw it, I realized that there's no competition. The episode of episode for season 4 is Chuck versus the Push Mix.
Chuck versus Push Mix is great.
You have Sarah reuniting with Chuck after going undercover. Chuck's mom is back. Ellie goes into labor. They have Jeffster performing Push It by Salt and Peppa in a hospital. That hospital is Sacred Heart from Scrubs fame, which featured Sarah Lancaster in a few cameo appearances, so it was full circle for her. And it had the proposal episode. The real proposal episode.
Yes.
So.
The crazy thing about season 4 is that it's so hard to pick an episode that I like. I mean, Chuck versus Cliffhanger is great. But like episode 1 through 19, so like Chuck versus the Anniversary all the way up to Chuck versus the Murder, are great. They're fantastic. And then Chuck versus the Family Volkov up to Chuck versus the Last Details. You're just like, huh.
Yeah.
But like Chuck versus the Murder was such a good episode.
It turns out that the guy who thought, "Hey, don't say I'm the terrorist because that's racist," ends up being the terrorist.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, you have Chuck versus the A Team, which is such a great episode as well. Like, season 4 is so good.
Now, I want to correct you. I do agree that Chuck versus the Family Volkov, Chuck versus that's not a strong episode, and Chuck versus the Last Details is not a strong episode. But Chuck versus the Wedding Planner is, and Chuck versus Agent X might be one of the best because of Mrs. Winterbottom.
I forgot about Mrs. Winterbottom.
I figured if I let you, if I kind of brought it back, you'd remember. Like a Frank Stallone song. Take you back.
They're good moments.
Well, I think Chuck versus the Wedding Planner and Chuck versus Agent X, top to bottom, are good episodes. Not the best of the season, but definitely not as bad as Chuck versus the Family Volkov or Chuck versus the Last Details. Although Chuck versus the Last Details does have that great finale with Vivian using the Norseman on Sarah.
Oh yeah.
But that's like a moment. So for me, season 5, I think it comes down to I like Chuck versus the Prostitutes. Chuck versus the Hack Off's really good. I'm kind of torn between Chuck versus the Baby because it was a really good episode with Sarah. And Sarah really didn't have a lot of independent episodes, after like season 2.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good to get back to that. And Casey rarely ever had them. Like episodes that featured like their backstory.
Right.
But for me, I knowing what I like, it comes down to 2 episodes. Chuck versus Bo.
Okay.
Just because of the whole Jeffster of it all.
Yeah.
Like that was the episode where they were getting trained all the time, right?
Yeah.
So that's Chuck versus Bo is definitely on that list, and then Chuck versus the Santa suit. Because it features my favorite villain. It features Diane Beckman finally making out with Chuck after 5 years. It features so much dumbness that it can't not be in that. Between the two, I think I'm going to go with Chuck versus Bo because it featured Morgan still having his Zoom powers because it was a flashback episode at times. It featured Jeff and Lester doing their Jeff and Lesterness and Casey having to constantly put him out in the desert. It's such a great running gag for the episode.
It's a great running gag.
So I would definitely have to go with Chuck versus Bo, I think, as my pick for season 5. What about you? Have you had time to percolate on some picks?
Yes, so I have about 1 or 2 episodes for every season.
Okay.
So going all the way back to season 1. See here. So I do kind of agree with you for like Chuck versus the Alma Mater is very good. If I had to pick one episode for season 1, Chuck versus the Imported Hard Salami.
See, I like that one, but I like her, and that was her last episode.
And you don't like it because she goes away.
Yes.
Versus the Imported. Okay,
yes.
I see it.
I mean, I like the episode, and I love everything about it, especially like with I'm gonna make you a lucky man, Chuck, and then like you hear Chuck moaning, and it turns out he's just eating a sandwich.
Just eating a sandwich.
For me, if I'm not picking the Alma Mater, I'm going with the previous episode in Chuck versus the Truth. Yes, because that's where we get Rachel Bilson, or at least we get more of her.
Okay. In season 2, oh man, there was one.
Season 2 is strong.
Season 2 is very strong. This isn't my favorite episode, but it's one that's up there. Chuck versus Tom Sawyer, because that's the episode with
Rush.
The Rush and
Sorry, Roosh.
Was it
He's from CMLL.
Oh yeah, Missile Command,
Mm-hmm.
great. There's another one. Uh, Damn, I don't remember which one I was thinking.
What happened here?
I mean, it doesn't.
Because I can help you.
It was either Chuck versus the Colonel or Chuck versus the Ring. I don't remember exactly which one I was gonna pick, because I knew it was one of because you said one of those ones, and I was trying to remember which one
I picked Chuck
I
versus the
liked more.
Colonel
Yeah, that's right.
because I liked the KC feuding with the gang dynamic until the end when he turns heel or face or
Yeah,
however you
yeah,
want to view it. But I also like Chuck versus the Ring because it featured not just I mentioned before, but it also featured Scott Bakula. Now he was in the first one, but
yes,
he had more to do in this one, and it also
right,
delved
right.
deeper into the relationship with Bryce and the Bartowskis because it turns out that Bryce was friends with Chuck in part because his father wanted him to be. That's a good
Right.
dad.
Anyways, my favorite episode of season 2 is Chuck versus the Cougars.
See, I was gonna mention that as we were as you were running through. I'm like, well, Chuck versus Cougar's pretty good
Yeah, it's a
because
great
it featured
episode.
John Casey as a goddamn DJ.
Yep.
You had Corey Matthews,
Um,
Nicole Richie's gorgeous. I get it.
oh yeah, it's great. So in season 3, there's a bunch of good episodes in season 3 too. I mean, uh, Chuck versus Subway and Chuck versus the Ring Part 2 are both great uh episodes. Like they're so emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get that feeling. Same thing with like Chuck versus the other guy. It's like those are all great emotional episodes. I lean towards the ones that resonate with me, and I am dead inside. That's not true, but I lean towards the comedy stuff more than I do emotional stuff. So my favorite episode of season 3, Chuck versus the Angel de la Muerte.
Fucking John Casey has to give his blood.
It's so great.
Bartowski,
Uh,
don't you do it.
don't you do it, Bartowski. Um, in season 4, I already said Chuck versus the Cliffhanger is amazing. But then it's just impossible to pick because season 4 is so good. I mean, you have Chuck versus the Push Mix, Chuck versus Seduction Impossible. You have Chuck versus the Cubic Z. You have Chuck versus the Isle of Terror. Chuck versus Couch Lock. It's oh man, it's it's great. I mean, like Chuck versus the Last Details that has was it Agent X? No, Agent X that has Miss Winterbottom, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So many great moments in season 4, but that's why I'm like Chuck versus the Cliffhanger is my favorite.
And you know what? I am right there with you in almost every way because while I didn't pick that one, the push mix for me was just it had everything. Chuck versus the Cliffhanger had maybe the best scene in the entire season where they practiced the wedding and Sarah's kind of in like, just like this fuddy-duddy clothes and they got like this little fucking napkin or some bullshit that she uses and it's just
Yeah,
all
she's
so
using a
cute.
doily.
Yeah, it's just all so cute and so very Sarah. Like at certain points you just want to go, "Oh, you are a real girl."
Yeah. And then season 5, so Chuck versus the Santa Suit is great because it finally gets rid of my least favorite character.
Brandon Routh deserves better
Um,
than you.
yeah, so I'll give a top 3 for season 5 because like it's just I can't
Not
just say
one
that.
really
I do
stands
have
out.
one. Yeah. Chuck versus Santa Suit, Chuck versus Bo. Again, that episode only because of the fucking Jeffster shit. And then Chuck versus the Hack Off.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Freddie Wong.
Freddie Wong, man. Freddie Wong.
All right, so
So
I got 2 more little ones real quick. They won't take long. Favorite non-main character?
my favorite non-main character is so who do you count as the main characters? The three main party?
Yeah, essentially.
Okay. So in that case, fuck. See, it's Captain Awesome.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. Especially like up until the end of season 2, Awesome's good. But then
Yes.
when he fights Casey, he goes great. And then he
Oh
starts
yeah.
getting into all the spy stuff. And then season 5, he fights again. Thumbs up. So yeah, I'm right there with you. It's Captain Awesome, and I love the fact that Awesome was supposed to be a villain the entire series,
Yeah.
and they opted not to do it because of how popular he was. And I love that the show adapted its kind of goal, because apparently everything that Awesome was going to end up being was going to be Daniel Shaw. So like
And
everything,
I'm so glad they did not make me have to hate that guy.
right? So like I'm very much a fan of it. So I concur. I concur hard on that. Favorite guest star.
Ooh. Um. There's a lot. There's a lot of guest stars.
Yup.
I mean, I could choose Stone Cold.
Yep.
I could choose Stacy Keibler. I think. All right. So I think I have to put it as a tie between Scott Bakula and Stone Cold.
All right. Well,
I mean, come on, man. Like
I won't
Scott
let you,
Bakula.
I won't let you do that. You got to pick one or the other, but I will let you go one for your favorite male and one for your favorite female guest stars.
Okay. If I have to choose a favorite male, then Stone Cold wasn't enough. Like Hugo Panzer is great, but Stephen J. Bartowski.
Yeah, it's Scott Bakula.
Scott
It's
Bakula.
Quantum Leap.
Female. Honestly, probably Rachel Bilson.
Rachel Bilson.
Yeah, Rachel Bilson. Just because we're coming off an OC kick, you know.
Kristen Kruick.
So,
They're up there for me.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go full default. Olivia Munn.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And just the way she... Oh, wait. Summer Glau.
Summer Glau, yeah.
Mm.
Olivia Munn was one of the Greta's, right?
So, yeah, her and Olivia Munn and Stacey Keibler were all Greta's.
Yeah. Oh man.
God, now I'm confused. There's so many. My favorite male is guest star was Scott Bakula, but
yes,
I'm gonna go with my second favorite just to add a little bit of uniqueness and I don't want to say diversity because that's not what I'm implying, but a little bit of a change. My second favorite is actually gonna be Robert Englund, the Fear Doctor from Chuck vs. the Isle of Terror.
Oh yeah, Robert Englund.
Yeah.
Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, loved him. I thought he was great. And it's only because
awesome.
he was fine, but then when he's actually in the Isle of Terror,
Losing his mind.
that's the best part. It goes from like a 5 to an 11. I fucking love it.
So good.
It's so good. I guess for my favorite female co-star, guest star, Fred Willard's also up there, by the way. He's fantastic.
Fred Willard's a great option.
Definitely not going to go with Jordana Brewster. She just looks like she has butter on her all the time. Like she doesn't have any pores. Like I feel like if I tried to stroke her face, I'd just like slip off like linoleum.
Wasn't Carl Winslow in one episode?
Yes, he was. He was in Chuck versus the Santa Claus in season 2.
Yeah.
Because Big Mike's cousin.
Yeah, that was the episode that they were all stuck in the Bymore
I fucking love it. It's so good.
with what's his name, the dude that's in everything, but
Daryl's brother Merle Dixon.
no, I'm not talking about fucking. Well, God, now you made me forget his name too.
Ha ha.
Michael Rooker. I'm not talking about Michael Rooker. I'm talking about the other dude.
Okay. I've settled on who my favorite female guest star is.
Uh
Marcia Monroe. She's a racist. Smoking hot racist.
Smoking hot racist. Oh man, that's good. Good. That's a good choice.
All right, least favorite episodes. Do you have any? Like, which one episode do you just like skip every time?
Uh, the very first episode of the beginning of the Daniel Shaw Sarah Walker relationship. Those episodes, like anything where like they're being nice to each other and they're like loving on each other or kissing, like I'm not here for it. Like we all know where this is supposed to go. This is just a waste of my goddamn time.
You're just a layover, Shaw.
Look, I have admitted at every turn that Shaw is a good villain. All right? I just am not here for the bullshit.
I think you will actually find my pick to be rather surprising.
Hmm.
I absolutely do not like watching Chuck versus the Pink Slip. Season 3, episode 1.
Which
It features the last appearance of Emmett, which I'm fine with. He gets killed by the short Hispanic or short Middle Eastern guy.
Yeah, where Chuck falls into being the bum.
Yeah, just eats a bunch of cheesy poofs. Now, it's not anything like with that. Like, you know, the cheesy poofs thing is great. Chuck kind of flunking out of spy school is great. But I'm here because of the beautiful relationship of Chuck and Sarah. And to a lesser extent, but still equally important, Jeff and Lester. I don't like episodes where they are at such conflicting odds that they're basically told your chemistry, turn it off. And that's essentially what that episode was. And it's not that it's bad, it's that everything that I'm here for is the opposite of that episode.
Right, which is like basically like it's not because of Shaw, it's because of the Sarah Shaw relationship that I don't like those episodes. And I'm like, I don't want this. I want Chuck and Sarah. I don't want Daniel and Sarah. I want Chuck and Sarah.
Fucking white bread, fucking motherfucking bland ass Daniel Shaw eats Cheerios and rice and baked chicken breast all day.
Don't fucking knock Cheerios.
I'm just saying, if you have the blandest of breakfasts, it's going to be Cheerios. The blandest of lunches is going to be some kind of rice dish. The blandest of dinner is going to be baked chicken breast or grilled chicken.
Brown rice, chicken breast, and broccoli.
Yeah, that's bland.
I subsisted on it for a year.
I mean, it's healthy as fuck, but it's bland. And that's Daniel Shaw 7 days a week. Wait, sorry, 6 days and 2/3 of the week. Because for dinner on Sunday, he lets himself have some brown rice. He's a wild man. And then he has like the multigrain Cheerios for breakfast.
Oh, God, no, never mind. I take it back.
I actually like the multigrain Cheerios.
It's honey nut or nothing.
Honey nut Cheerios. Any final thoughts on Chuck?
Chuck's a great show. I think everybody should watch it.
Grade out the season. Season 1, A through F.
Season 1 gets a solid B.
Okay. Season 2?
Season 2 gets a solid A minus.
Season 3?
Season 3 gets a solid A.
Season 4?
And Season 4 gets an A as well.
Season 5?
Season 5 gets a D.
Ooh. So B, A, D. That looks like my report card in my freshman year when I was taking Spanish.
To spell out our favorite word, bad.
Did you do that on purpose, you dick?
No, it's not. It just happened that way. But that is a word I would use to describe Yvonne Strahovski.
She's a bad woman.
She's bad.
The reason why I asked you and I didn't go first is because mine's going to be pretty obvious. It's A-A-A-A-B.
That's fair. I feel it.
Like, I love this show too much to ever hate on it too hard.
I understand completely.
Oh, last one. Favorite villain.
Favorite villain?
It could be an episode villain or a arc villain.
Fuck. I mean, I might as well give one for each. Episode villain, Hugo Panzer. Arc villain, Alexei Volkov.
Okay. Impressive. My arc villain would be Daniel Shaw. So I'll put that one on the back burner because it's too obvious. Instead, I'm going to go with Ray Weiss. Technically, he wasn't the arc villain, but he was the catalyst for why Vivian became the big bad in season 4.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with him. My favorite episodic villain, I'm gonna go with Nicole Richie because everything she said really could be true. Like, how often are you gonna meet a sociopathic murderer on a first class flight to France?
Yeah.
Not often. But how often are you going to meet a chick who's going to try to ruin your relationship for funsies?
It's true.
Yup. You and I both have had that experience. So, you know.
Yeah.
That's fun. So, here's the three I want you to think of. I know Karate Kid Season 3 is coming up. So we're going to be relaunching the Karate Kid podcast here when that comes out. Gonna add another addition to that one. We're not gonna go through. Don't worry, we're not going through the 2 seasons and the 4 movies again. We're good. But we will be adding to that one. But before that comes out, I don't know what month that comes out. I think. Let me see. Cobra Kai Season 3. Coming very soon. We'll arrive at. Can I get a date?
Let's see here.
Cobra Kai release date will arrive in 2020. Nope.
I'm seeing this one that just came out February 14th from Screen Rant said that it's expected in spring of 2020.
Well, there's a Cobra Kai Theory YouTube channel that has an update. So we'll watch that after the show. So the 3 series that I'm putting in the running, they don't need to be the only ones. You know, if you have a suggestion, please let me know so I can, weigh in and see what you think. But, I talked about Reaper. It would be a very short one. We could do that in an episode or 2. I think it's only like 30 episodes. So that wouldn't be too hard. And it's free on abc.com. Because it was an ABC studio show, even though it aired on the CW.
Okay.
There's Titus. Watch Titus and see what you think. And then what was the other one?
I thought it was just those 2.
No, there was a third. I can't remember.
I don't either.
Oh well. Well, if there is a third one, I'll send it to you and be like, hey, it's this, and you'll be like, yeah, okay. So for now, we'll just keep it to Reaper and Titus to see which one you want to go with. If you have any other suggestions, let me know. And then we'll go from there. You ready for the spiel? The rundown?
Yeah, go for it.
RealNerdCorp.com, RealNerdCorp.com. We're on Twitter at NERDCORP, on Instagram at RealNerdCorp. That's RealNerdCorp. We are also on YouTube at youtube.com/nerdcorp. Nope, youtube.com/wrestling underground. We're also on youtube.com, but you gotta search Comic and Game Corps. We don't have enough subscribers yet to do the URL. We're also on twitch.tv/Comic and Game Corps and twitch.tv/Wrestling Underground. Personals. Swisher, what are your personals?
So for my personals, you can find me on Twitter at x2000gregs, x2000gregs. You can find me on Instagram at 2000gregs, 2000gregs. Chad, where can they find your personal stuff?
You can find me on Twitter at Chad Nerdcorp, ChadNerdCorp on Twitter. On Instagram, it's Chad's Photo Hut, ChadsphotoHut. You can also find us on Podbeam to download all of our past podcasts. It's realnerdcorp.podbean.com or by downloading the Podbean app and searching for Real Nerd Corp through the app and downloading them straight to your mobile device today. So, with all that being said, I think we're done.
Yeah.
So, Video Game High School.
Oh,
Because Freddie won.
yeah, we should. Yeah, we should. We're looking to doing Video Game High School.
Okay, so Video Game High School, Reaper, and Titus. Those are the three we're contemplating for our next grouping. Depending on which one you pick will depend on when the next one is. Actually, they're all pretty short.
Yeah.
So we'll probably have at least... So depending on which one you pick will depending on how long next week's episode is going to cover. If you pick Titus, we'll do a season like we did before. If you pick Video Game High School or Reaper, we can probably knock it out in one episode.
Okay.
So you let me know which one you're vibing with the most, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Will do.
All right, then with that all said, you, my friend, are now up.
Well, it's time for me to do the outro.
Yes, it is.
Thank you all for listening to another edition to the finale edition of Chuck vs. the Podcast. This has been an Ohio. We will be back next week, hopefully, with how our schedules are. You never know. With a new series or a new episode or whatever that we're going to be doing, depending on what we decide on. So, until next time, guys. Goodbye, good night, and please, everybody out there, be safe, be smart, take this seriously, self-quarantine, social distance, do whatever we have to make sure that we can move on with our lives and get past this pandemic. That being said, thank you all for listening. Goodbye, good night, and we'll see you next time.